Hello, you're listening to me, Eva, the host of Connected with Eva, the podcast on human connection. Today's episode is about starting before you're ready and why this podcast is living proof. Before I started the podcast, I was feeling quite lost and almost like I didn't have a purpose. For everyone who's experienced this, you know how you feel when you're waking up every moment and you're feeling deflated and there's no purpose, there's no connection to your deeper self, and that could make you feel so lonely, and that could be quite traumatizing in a way. There are many questions you can ask yourself when you're trying to find your purpose. One of them could be, what makes me happy? When do I smile? When do I light up? What makes me light up? What makes me smile? It might be a process of journaling to see if there are any patterns that repeat themselves. There are any things that spark your interest. I had this period during lockdown when I was writing. I wrote a book, actually. It was a young adult novel based on Bulgarian folklore. So I was writing for maybe 2 years. Sometimes I was writing every day, almost like it was a 9 to 5, because I wasn't really doing much else. The experience was quite overwhelming, and while I did write the book, and I have the book written now, I'm really proud of myself for accomplishing that. It didn't feel like my thing, I guess. So when the idea of the podcast came earlier this year, that prompted me to have a whole other reaction. Joy, excitement, the idea of possibilities, opportunities to connect with people, to find out more about the world through connection. But I mostly wanted to talk about fear today. The idea that fear is something that prevents us from finding our true potential, going for it, doing things, being brave. So when I started the podcast, I obviously had this excitement and it was all joyful and amazing, but everybody knows life isn't like that every day. Especially when you're doing something properly, there will be moments where you're like, oh my god, this is so difficult, or wow, I didn't realize that I had to do 8 hours of editing or something like that. I actually love editing now. It's one of the things I love mostly about the podcast. I enjoy spending hours a day going through the recording and cutting pieces and connecting pieces and finding what music to use at the end, which is, again, something new, as I thought that there would be no soundtrack at all. Let's talk about this learning experience and why fear, while obviously helpful in general, can be quite devastating if it prevents us from going for what we want. We should explore fear. Why are we afraid? And is it something that's actually dangerous for us? Or is it the fact that we don't have an expertise in something and that's mystifying? And then that's quite fuzzy. And we don't deal well in fuzzy. We're afraid of fuzzy. We need things to be clear. We need to know exactly what we're getting into. But that's not possible. But things that will actually make us grow, that will change us for the better, it's not possible to know. Start before you're ready. Start with fear. Start with doubt. Just start. The first time I had to edit an episode, I was absolutely terrified. I think I edited about 5 or 6 episodes, solo episodes that I never published. Imperfections can be quite overwhelming. While I was learning to do, I was also having to remind myself that things won't be perfect. And if anything, from all the conversations I've had with people so far, one of my biggest outtakes was, nobody ever knows what they're doing 100%. Nobody's ever a full expert in anything. You're always learning. We're always learning. We're always improving. But if we're not, if we're just stuck, that's detrimental to our growth, to our survival. Think about life over time, evolution in general. You have to change. Well, there might not have been moments where I wanted to give up, because this is something that I truly feel aligned with. There were moments where I was thinking, who am I doing this for? And is it something that's a good use of my time? Because I could be quite a pragmatic person. So if I'm not necessarily seeing immediate results, I would be like, is this useful? Resilience isn't necessarily something you're born with. You can teach yourself resilience by practicing every day, by doing every day. The more you do, the more you teach yourself that this is normal. This new way of thinking, of doing is normal. It's the norm. It becomes the norm. And I might not have been resilient a few years ago, or in my 20s, when I was led by fear. But now I'm learning that it's something that you can polish. You can find it, you can polish it, you can water it, and it grows and it becomes a big part of you. And as I mentioned before, the podcast has been really important for me because it has been part of finding my purpose. I'm still figuring out what kind of conversations I should have, how it can grow potentially. All these things I'm still figuring out. That's a slow process. Growth is better, slow as well. Imagine you're watering a plant. It will take some time. And you might not see things immediately. So if you're not seeing things immediately, you might want to stop. You might tell yourself, well, there's no results. So why am I spending this time and this energy watering something? I don't see anything. That's the thing. For the real change to happen, for something physical to take place, you need to allow a certain time to pass. And that time you're growing, you're doing, you're learning. And the end result might not be what you thought it would be. It might be something entirely different, something similar, but it wouldn't exist unless you put the work in. You don't need to feel ready to start something meaningful, and I promise you that. I'm someone who wasted years in the past doing things that felt safe and easy and tangible. Right? Something in front of me, something that I can see, so I'll do that. I'll stay in this field because it's the only thing I can imagine for myself, because everything else is so out of reach that it feels impossible. It feels so alien to me, and it would require skills that I don't have yet, like editing right now. I couldn't do any amount of editing when I started the podcast. Now I am enjoying it so much. It's one of my favorite things. In the past, I was like, I can't do something, so I'm not going to go out and try to learn or do. You learn skills as you go, not before. And that's something, I learned from doing and also from talking to all the incredible people I've spoken to. You learn by doing. You learn by being in creative environments. You learn by practicing. You learn by asking questions and trying to find the answers to these questions. And something else that I learned is the importance of consistency. Consistency builds confidence. There's no confidence without consistency, because without consistency, we can't get to the level of expertise that's required. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing it anyway. Sometimes when I have a solo episode, I really don't want to speak for 15 or 20 minutes. There might be so many reasons. I might think, I don't have anything useful to say. Nobody will want to listen. Actually, it's about being courageous to do something. Because if it's authentic, if it's something that's true to your purpose, if it's something that means something to you, others will relate. One of the things that most people I've spoken to on the podcast have said so far, and I absolutely love it, is that people can always feel if you're doing something that you're truly passionate about, that's really true to your purpose, that's authentic to you, that's not fake, that's real. People can feel when something's real and when something's not. Today, I want to encourage you to start your own thing, whatever it is. What excites you, what makes you happy, what makes you joyful. Ask, what would you begin today if fear is in the way? If an excuse comes to mind, push it gently away, because we are so attached to comfort. If we try to break out of that comfort zone, the nervous system will panic and will send us little soldiers thoughts. And we'll be like, no, but you don't have enough money, or you don't have the right environment, or and that could be so overwhelming, because the loops we have are so powerful. It's really difficult to break free. But start small. And when that little soldier comes that's telling you, but you don't come from a privileged background, push it away, because until you start living a life where fear doesn't stop you from trying, from living, from experiencing, from failing, from learning, then you're just shackled to old patterns. Let's not be prisoners to our loops. That's the past. And if we go too much into the past, then we always come with the, no, because of this experience I've had, I can't risk because I don't have security, I can't do this, I can't do that. Then we'll never change, we'll never grow, and we'll never live freely. Share your stories. DM, comment on the website. Share how you're going about breaking that loop. Breaking out of the comfort zone doesn't feel so terrifying anymore. If you have a support system, if you have someone who is cheering you on, it feels easier. It feels more possible. It feels achievable. So to wrap up today's episode, this podcast is a reminder to myself, and maybe to you too, that we don't need to feel ready to begin. I started the podcast terrified, with no idea how to edit, how to promote it, how to grow it, how to connect with people, even how well it would be received. But I kept going. I'm learning as I do. I make mistakes. Hopefully I get better. If there's something on your heart, a project, a dream, a change you want to make, don't wait for perfect conditions because they never come about. There's no such thing as perfect conditions. Or even if you have a moment where it just feels, ooh, great, I'll start now. 2 moments later, everything's like upside down and it's not perfect anymore. So there's no perfect conditions. Start with the fear. Work with the fear. Learn from it. And most importantly, be proud of every step you take. This journey has taught me that resilience isn't something you're born with, as I said. It's something you build up by showing up. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for walking this path with me. And remember, you're more ready than you think. Until next time. Please review, follow, subscribe. Any of those things will be extremely helpful. Thank you for the support.